Welcome to the session. In this session, let's learn about waste generation and management. First, let's study what are the sources of waste. What is waste? A waste is generally a thing which is of no use. In general, we can say that a waste is a discarded material which has no purpose to use anymore. We can also say that waste is a material that remains at the end of any process and further it has no use at all and it should be thrown away. That is called waste. According to Environment Protection Act 1990, waste is defined as any substance that constitutes a scrap material or an effluent or other unwanted surplus substance that arises from the application of any process, and any substance or any articles that requires to be disposed of being broken, worn out or contaminated or otherwise spoiled is all waste. Waste is a matter, it is said to occupy some space that produces smell and it also has some kind of weight. So in today's world, human beings produce lot of waste. As our knowledge of science and technology increases, we continue to develop a process and exploit natural resources for our own benefit. In this process, the amount of waste generated also increases. We know that the matter exists in three states: solid, liquid, and gas. In the same way, waste is also of three types: solid waste, liquid waste, and gaseous waste. As solid waste, we can include garbage like food items, decaying fruits, vegetables, crop residues, etc. And the rubbish items including cans, water bottles, corroded metal pieces, ashes, dead animals, body parts, etc. These are all comes under solid waste. Liquid waste. It includes sewage from toilets of houses, hospitals, restaurants, etc. And oil spills is also considered as a liquid waste. Gaseous waste. It includes fuel exhaust which contains carbon dioxide, nitrogen oxides, carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide, etc. And smoke which is formed as a hazy mixture of gases when fuel exhaust reacts with sunlight is also a gaseous waste. Sources of waste. Depending on their source of origin, waste are classified into domestic waste and industrial waste. Domestic waste. Waste that is generated due to domestic activities are called domestic waste. For example, the leftover food, peels of fruits and vegetables, bits of papers, polythene bags, everything comes under domestic waste. Industrial waste. Waste from various types of small and large scale industries are called industrial waste. Industrial waste includes a material that is useless after the manufacturing process. For example, in a textile industry, waste is in the form of fibers used to wipe off oil, etc. Industrial waste, it includes chemicals like lead, mercury, arsenic, etc. and paint, sand, paper, etc. all comes under industrial waste. Industrial waste, it is categorized into a following groups on the basis of different industries and their products. Food processing units, remnants, waste products of dairies, breweries and meat processing units, they produce organic waste. Some pathogenic organisms are flushed out through effluents of slaughterhouses and packaging units. These are all the waste produced in food processing units. Paper industry. Paper industry's wastages are in the form of wood chips, cellulose fibers, and the rejected chemicals as a waste material. The effluents, they contain chlorine, sulfur dioxide, methyl mercaptan, etc. And these effluents are considered to be highly poisonous, especially when they are released in the rivers or oceans. The life of the fish is collapsed. Textile industry. Textile industry, they has an effluents which emanate from the boiling and the processing of fibers. Petroleum industry. Petroleum industry, they cause an environmental problems, and these industries, they include petrochemical plants and refineries. Petroleum industry waste, they include an inorganic sulfur compounds, hydrocarbons and organic acids. Chemical industries. These chemical industries, they include manufacturing industries as well. Alkali manufacturing, fertilizers, pesticides and several other industries, they come under chemical industries. The effluents from these industries, they contain acids which have a corrosive effect, and these effluents from the fertilizer industries, they contain a phosphorus, fluorine, silica and the large amount of suspended solids. Nuclear reactors. This nuclear reactor, it produces a radioactive waste and that uses nuclear fuel or heavy water. Radioactive waste, these are very hazardous to all the living beings in this environment. They are highly toxic, corrosive and as well as explosive. An incident occurred in a nuclear plant in Chernobyl in Russia in 1986. Due to the poor reactor design, and this radioactive fallout happened in Chelyabinsk in the form of severe radiation fallout. The whole of the West USSR and other European countries were affected by the contamination of gamma emitters which deposited in the soil. Meat and dairy products were also contaminated. Agricultural waste. Agricultural waste, it includes crop residue, husk, straws, wood waste, sawdust, etc. Most of the agricultural waste are being recycled and few are burnt and they are used as a manure. Agricultural waste, it causes environmental problems if they are not disposed properly. If the agricultural waste are not being disposed properly, and they become the breeding grounds for harmful insects, mosquitoes and rodents. Burning of wheat or rice straws, it gives rise to smoke and that pollutes the environment. The waste spread along the roads or near the residential house, it has no value. Agricultural waste, it includes the following. Fertilizer. Agricultural fertilizers, it has a few components like nitrogen, phosphorus or potassium. And these three chemicals, it can affect the surface water during the drainage and storm runoff. In some fields, the water reaches even the groundwater level and these chemicals, it contaminates the groundwater. Pesticides and insecticides. These are the toxic substances. Pesticides and insecticides, they are used to eliminate some of the insects or the pest, and they have a harmful effect on the life of living beings including man. This is why because they have a high persistent capacity, that is their residues it remains for a long periods. And some of the insecticides like DDT, that is dichloro-diphenyl trichloroethane, and aldrin, it affects men and animals directly or indirectly in the form of food which they consume. And some countries, they have banned the use of DDT. Some chemicals which kill the fungi, and some chemicals, they are also used in herbicides and rodenticides. Other chemical agents. Beside the use of other chemicals, farmers also use a soil conditioners as well as fumigants in their farms or orchards. Chemical compounds that contains lead and mercury in these chemical agents, they get mixed up with the soil, and those chemicals are absorbed by the crops as well as fruits that we consume, and hence it is an health hazard for those who consume those kind of chemically protected food crops or fruits. Commercial waste. What is this commercial waste? Waste from the commercial houses like stores, godowns, and offices, they are all known as commercial waste. And this waste, it contains waste paper, torn out gunny bags, waste packing materials like straw, wood pieces, cans, etc. Waste is from medical institutions, that is called a biomedical waste. It is some type of a commercial waste, and they include syringe, needles, plastic bottles, bandage, cotton, gloves, plasters, dead human tissues, etc. Shops and restaurant. These shops and restaurant, they have a commercial wastage like food waste, plastic bottles, cans, paper, broken crockeries, etc. Building waste. Building waste, it is the biggest waste material accumulated, and this includes bricks, stones, wood, concrete, electrical parts, packing material, etc. Construction waste. Wastes that are generated at the construction site, it is mainly due to the demolition and construction rubble. It is called as construction waste. It includes bricks, pipes, plastic, roofing, insulating materials, etc. Mining waste. Wastes that are generated during the mining operations, it is called as a mining waste. They include tailings, slag heaps, debris, etc. In some mining areas, they use chemicals such as liquids, which they add to the waste generated, and this can become toxic. Mining operations, it causes a leaching of metals into an acidic effluence, and thus it adds to the metal content in the rivers, lakes, and groundwater. Discharge of mercury from gold mining activities, it had polluted some treasures in Brazil and Ecuador, and it created a serious health issues in and around Brazil and Ecuador. Hazardous waste. So we have seen a many types of waste, but certain waste, they are classified as hazardous. Why? Because they pose a serious health issues for the human beings as well as the living beings present in the environment. And this wastes, it normally comes from the industrial process and the products they manufacture. They also include a medical waste from hospitals and chemicals used in modern agriculture. Some of the common hazardous waste are arsenic, cyanide, lead, mercury, and asbestos. Oxides of sulfur and nitrogen are also hazardous when they are in high level concentration. Radioactive waste. Radioactive waste, these are the most hazardous of all the wastes generated. They need to be handled carefully. They can remain dangerous for thousands of years. Radioactive waste, they are generated from X-ray machines in hospitals and airports. Nuclear energy in industry, which include a substance used in cooling and storing nuclear fuel from reactors in power stations and submarine, they all have a radioactive waste. Radioactive elements like uranium and radium, it possess a highly unstable atomic nuclei. That's why while disintegration of radioactive elements, it results in radiation emission, and which is highly injurious. During the nuclear test, radioactive dust, it may encircle the globe at all the altitudes of 3000 meters or more. and this dust, it often comes to the earth in the form of rain. Some of them, they penetrate deep into the soil and move towards the groundwater reservoirs, or some are carried into the streams and rivers. Human waste. Human waste is nothing but the waste products of the digestive system, and they contain a harmful microbes and that even can cause diseases like diarrhea, cholera and meningitis if they are not disposed of carefully. Municipal waste. These are the wastes that are generated in the local government area or the municipality area, and such wastes, it is produced by the shops, offices, restaurants, schools, libraries, playgrounds, etc., and it is collected from the public waste bins. It also includes household or domestic rubbish. Degradable and non-degradable wastes. Municipal wastes, which is generated in office, it includes used paper cuttings, Xerox paper bits, carbon papers, typewriter ribbons, broken pens, pencils, groundnut husk, etc. Municipal solid waste, it can be degraded by microorganisms and they are called as degradable or biodegradable wastes. Examples: vegetable waste, stale food, tea leaves, eggshells, dry leaves, etc. Waste which cannot be degraded by the microorganisms are called as non-biodegradable waste. Example: polythene bags, scrap metals, glass bottles, etc. Sewage. Municipal sewage is a liquid waste of community. Domestic sewage is the wastewater from kitchens, bathrooms, laundries, laboratories, etc. In addition to the mineral and organic matter in the wastewater, domestic sewage, it also comprises of human excretion. Municipal sewage water, it is rich in organic matter and nitrogen compounds. If this municipal sewage is untreated or it is not cared properly, then it may mingle with the water resources like rivers, lakes, ponds, etc., which has a serious effect on the environment. That's all for the session. Thank you.